All right, so let me give you an example of what will get people shut down when they're selling supplements, right? So they'll take like the stress support, for example, right? And they'll put an ad together. It says, hey, would you like to have your stress relieved or something like that? Or are you under stress? Normal marketing, right? That's what you're taught is what you should do. But in the ad network platforms, in their terms of service, when you do that, you are using what they call personally identifying characteristics. You're asking a question that deals with somebody's mindset, and that is wrong. It's a no-no. Right. And so people will do a lot of little things like that that are general marketing best practices. But like if you got a brand new ad account and everything like that, and you've put an ad up like that, they'll shut your account down like right away. You know what I mean? They don't even disapprove your ad. They just shut it all down. Right. And I'm sure you've heard those horror stories. So the key here is to pick something that also is going to give you less opportunity to screw up with what you're saying. Right. That's the way I think about it. Right. So, if I'm sitting in your spot, I'd probably pick the protein, you know what I mean? Because it's easier to focus on the product, right? You don't need to like focus on the benefit. That's where we get into problems with supplements, right? The ad networks want us to focus on the product. The marketing tells us to focus on the benefit, right? Traditional marketing training. You can't do that when you're directly promoting supplements at all, right? And in the ground zero scenario, you would ideally be, driving traffic straight from an ad to a product page like this. Now, this is a little thin, you know what I mean? Because you don't have reviews, you don't have any testimonials. There isn't a whole lot of copy on here in like the description area and stuff like that. So let me give you an example here of somebody that I know converts really well. This is Ezra Firestone's business, if you know who he is. So this is Ezra's company. So let me go to one of their product pages and just show you what I mean. Okay, so you see how obviously you don't have customers and stuff, but I think you should be able to borrow this from the white label assets. They should have like testimonies and stuff like that for you to use, hopefully. Usually these people have that. So it's not like you need to get these on your own, right? So you see how here, nothing wrong with this, right? But you see how what they've done is they've put this quote up here, right? It's a testimony basically. Right above this, right?
Yeah.
And then they got this product description copy here, right? That helps to sell. Like that's one thing that you don't have. Now you don't have reviews yet. Once you got reviews, then you can put a reviews widget up in here. So that's all up in this area. It's really key that you get that right by the order area. And then everything else is fine right there. So that would be something that would really help the conversion on this page. The fact that you don't have reviews and you don't have any testimonies or case studies on here is going to make it hard for you to sell your product directly with cold traffic. It's going to make it probably impossible in this market, right? Because if you think about it, right, and this applies to every single one of your supplements. You're not the only one out there, right?
Yeah.
There's
Exactly.
how many million protein powders out there, right? So on top of having the reviews and stuff, we got to have some kind of way that we can find or create to sound unique and new and different and about the formula that you have that is going to provide a better result than anything else out there. That's
that would
key.
be what Todd Brown talked about, unique mechanism in terms of what makes it. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. So, let's talk about, do you know what's all in this thing in particular? Do you have a label somewhere on the page?
I don't. I need to actually get that uploaded, don't I? The ingredients side of it.
That's 100% necessary when you're selling supplements, especially protein powders, right? Because like the people that are going to be buying this are hardcore workout people, typically. Or it'll be like the middle-aged man or woman who believes they need to be using protein powder because they're not getting enough of it in their diet, or they're trying to lose weight or whatever, you know what I mean? Those are going to be your two avatars. The people that are a better focus are the ones that are the hardcores because they use it all the time, right? And then when they find one that they like the way it tastes and they get good results off it, they typically stick with it. Okay. So you should also have a subscribe and save option on here as well, which is something that I don't see, right? So that would be something that I would be putting on here. Okay. But yeah, so let me just I'm gonna make up an example. So I'm gonna use acai as an example here for you. That's a better example. All right. So do you remember when acai first came out? Like acai berry?
Oh yes.
Yeah, so like several years ago, so what happens with supplements and weight loss stuff is if you just notice, like there's cycles of these things. So what happens is somebody figures out some kind of new thing that they say is, hey, this is what's actually going to cause you to really lose weight for the first time. And so, acai berry was that for a while. And like any like, program can be that, like P90X, right? So
Hmm.
those are all unique mechanisms, right? So acai berry, that was an ingredient, right? So then they started putting acai berry and all this different and all these pills and stuff, and like, oh, it's got acai berry in it. That's going to help you to detoxify, and that burns fat within you without even having to work out, right? So that's how you come up with a unique mechanism from an ingredient, right?
Right.
So
Okay.
yeah, and a lot of times, like, you know, these things are, you pretty much like they do what they call neologizing it, where you can even make up like a concept. So I'll give you an example. I was just writing the offer for Black Friday that I'm doing right before we got on this call, right? And so the idea that I'm using to sell this offer is that the fastest way to create additional streams of income for your business is to leverage what I call OPP, right? Which just stands for other people's products.
Right. Okay.
But that I made, that's an example of a unique mechanism, right?
Yeah.
So I was able to neologize. I came up with that term to define the unique mechanism, which is just leveraging other people's products as a stream of income in your business,
Hmm.
right? And then my offer is, hey, you can license my product and create a stream of income in your business instantly from it.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
And that'll be
So
your licensing AOA, yes? Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. So you see how it's an idea that sells people, right?
Hmm.
And the big idea should have the unique mechanism couched in it, right? Like, so I start off with multiple streams of income. I don't know any better way of creating financial security. That's the big idea, right?
Okay.
And then I tell people, hey, I create multiple streams of income in my business in 4 different ways. And the last one being OPP. And I say I haven't found a faster way to generate an additional stream of income than OPP, right? And here all I'm
Yeah.
talking about is other people's products, right? So that's like I literally did all that in like it's like 6 sentences.
Right.
So big ideas and unique mechanisms, they don't need to be as complicated as it sounds. It's just that if you don't have a lot of experience putting them together, it's really hard to see how those things fit and where do you pull that material from.
Hmm.
Okay. For me, when I'm creating an offer and I'm coming up with this stuff, first off, I usually have, at this point in my life, I have experience in every single market. So I already understand like the general kind of ideas and ways that you need to market pretty much any product, right? So that helps a lot. And then once you know that, then you'll know like where do you pull the material from, right? So with supplements, it's always like something in the formulation. There's some kind of different ingredient or some kind of custom combination of the ingredients that isn't found somewhere else, right? And pretty much anybody can claim that, right? Because this formula, even though it's white label, you have the right to make your messaging around it. That white label formula should be different than any other thing out there that makes their own stuff, right?
Yeah. Right.
So
Okay.
does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Makes perfect sense. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Perfect. So that's what you want to find is like with each of these products, you do want to understand the ingredients lists and you want to like, go and study the sales letters and stuff from the white label people, right?
Right.
Because they should give you assets like ads and sales letters. And if not, you should be able to go to their main page where they're selling their own version of this. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah.
And usually those people have like really good copywriters and they've already like figured all this stuff out. And so a lot of the people that do white label like this, they'll just go on their site and they just rip the copy off. You know what I mean? That's all they do. Even they'll rip off all the testimonials and all that. You know what I mean? Because you should have, I mean, they should be giving it to you. If they didn't,
Yeah.
then you just go copy it. You know what I mean?
Right. That's a good shout. Yeah, I can reach out to them and see what they have available for sure.
Yeah, usually they've got some kind of like portal for people that are white label owners where they have done for you assets inside of there. That's actually part of my offer is I created this Google Drive and I put all the emails, social posts, whole all my sales letters, VSL slides, and even several like case studies of my clients and their results that people can use to market the program. Right? It's
Wow.
all proven stuff. Yeah, and it's all in there. Everybody can just copy and paste it, use it however they want. You know what I mean?
That's unreal.
That's That's how it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
So that's what I would be doing in this case, right?
Okay.
Now, if you put these elements on the page, you're not going to have the reviews right away. You can't really get around that. If you can at least get some testimonials, like images that you can swipe from the white label people, maybe even videos you can grab and plop them in here. Since you already got conversion, I think you'll enhance that, right?
Okay.
Now, what you'll want to then do is start really small with really small budgets. I'd say $20 a day at most. You can go $5 a day even, but you're not gonna get much traffic. You know what I mean? Because it's like $2 to $3 a click these days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So spend $5 a day, you might get 1 or 2 clicks. It's just not gonna do much for you, right?
Hmm.
So I'd say like $20 a day. And what you'll want to do is, put ads together that are using the offer framework from AOA.
Okay.
All right. So you want to use the offer framework where you're talking just about the product and about how this unique blend of ingredients that's in this product delivers superior synthesis of the protein powder so that you get maximum performance is essentially
Right.
the thing that you're saying, right? That way you're saying the things that resonate with the person who's going to buy this thing. You're talking about the product only, and you're not making any specific claim of outcome or benefit, right? That's why you say things like maximize performance. You'll see that all over the place with like supplement and weight loss and weight, muscle building stuff.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? It's a power phrase that doesn't make a specific claim, and so the ad networks are fine with it. And that's another thing I want to really have you take out of this call is when we're dealing with supplements, there's a lot of nuance in the ad networks and what they'll allow and what they won't allow in your language and message.
Right. Okay.
So they basically don't want you talking directly to the customer, right? Don't ask them questions using you or your. You don't even want to use the words you or your in the copy very much at all.
Right. Okay.
You can use it like a few times, but not very much, right? So it's ideally you'd be talking specifically about the product and what it is about the product that delivers the benefit. And if you give the price and everything and drive people straight to a product page like this, they're okay with that all day long. You're never gonna have a problem with shutdown. It's the questions that people ask, right? That's the problem, and then making the specific claims. The other thing that people will do, which you don't have an issue with, by the way, I just want to say this before I make the point, is they'll send people to spammy looking sites. Your site looks great, and you got all the right elements on here and everything. You know what I mean? That they're looking for. You got privacy policies. You're like, this is a legit looking business to anybody who's going to come here and see this, including Facebook. Right?
Good to know. Yeah.
So you're 100% above board there.
Wicked.
So that would be how I would go about doing this is, you want to find those ingredients, figure out which one of these you want to start with. I think the protein powder is pretty safe. Let me give you another couple, because I think the strawberry superfood would be fine. I think the other ones I would stay away from because like with immunity, like we got to promise like prevention from illness and stuff like that in order to make that sale. And that's the kind of thing, especially right now, like Facebook doesn't like it anyways, but even since COVID, like anytime you're dealing with anything about that kind of, any immunity stuff, like, nah, it gets disapproved instantly and you won't get it approved. Same with stress, like that's everything that in order to sell relief of stress, you have to talk to the person and you have to talk in ways that are just going to get you disapproved, like they're non-compliant. I don't know enough about these two ingredients. Yeah, so these kind of more fringe ingredient ones like these are harder to sell, right? Because they're kind of general, you know what I mean, as well. Yeah. And in order to really sell these kinds of things, you do have to make bigger promises that like the ad networks aren't going to like. So what I would look at doing with most of your stuff, I'd say that your protein powder and your superfood are probably your two things that you could do with front-facing cold traffic on ad platforms, right? You wouldn't have any problems there. The other ones you probably would. So what I would consider doing is, using your other products as your cross-sell and upsell strategies.
Right. Okay. That's a great idea.
Because we don't need to advertise all of our products on the front end anyways. We actually only need one product that converts cold traffic the way that we need it to, right? And in most e-commerce scenarios, if you can get a customer for break even ad spend, COGS, and overhead, right? Like all of your numbers, then you're in the perfect spot. Because as long as you put automations in place to cross-sell and upsell, and you run regular promotions to those customers coming in, you will profit from those people, and you can
Right.
scale any.
Brilliant.
Okay. So that's how I look at doing those. So you'd want to
Yeah.
make sure you're using like some kind of one-click upsell system as well. You know what I mean? So like
Yeah.
if the strategy that works really well for me and my clients, it's the e-commerce game plan, the Ezra Firestone e-commerce game plan in AOA, right?
Okay. Yeah.
You got a front-facing product right here. You send the traffic to the product page. Product sells. You might have a bump offer on here, or ideally with these, you would have just a subscribe and save, because then a percentage of people will take that, right? And then when they go to the one-click upsell, which is right after they order this, then what we do right there is we offer them a 3-pack of the same thing for a discount, for usually like 25 to 35% off, right? So you can usually do it as like a buy 2 get 1 free, right? So if you upgrade and you get you buy 2 more, you're gonna get the 3rd one for free. So now you're gonna have 4 of these, right? And I don't know how much one of these is. This like a week supply, or is it a month supply?
I believe that's like a month supply, perhaps. A minimum at least 2 weeks. A minimum 2 weeks, yeah. Depending on how many scoops they have a day or how many scoops they have per serving. But I believe it's at least 2 weeks, if not 3 or 4.
Cool. So yeah, so then typically what we do is we'll, even if it's like a 30-day supply, we'll still offer that 3-pack upsell then, right?
Okay.
And usually we position it as buy 2 get 1 free, right?
Right.
So that way it would be like $120, you know, is what the upsell price would be.
Yeah.
And you'll get somewhere between 10 and 20 to 25% of the people will take you up on that.
That many?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, 10% of people will buy pretty much anything. Like, well, you went through the AOA funnel and you saw that the upsell was for AOA Insider Circle for $1,000, right? I took people from $95 to $1,000 a year.
Yeah.
I get 10% conversion on that.
Whoa, that's amazing.
That's just the way like upsells work. A lot of people don't understand the power of it. Like, so here's something that I want to give you as a gold nugget as well, since we're on this topic. So when people are buying things, they're actually quite often in a hypnotic trance. And they're also, what happens when we purchase things is we get flooded with endorphins in our brain. That's actually the primary reason that people buy stuff, is because it makes them feel good.
Yeah.
Right now, the issue with a lot of people when they're doing this is not only are they buying things to make themselves feel good, but they're also on drugs or alcohol, and it's late at night when they're doing these things, and they're just in a happy place, and they'll just buy whatever the you put in front of them.
Yeah, I can believe that. Yeah,
it happens. Like, that's a good percentage of those people. And other people they'll just buy because you offered them something else, and they're feeling good, and they're like, yeah, I like this, I want more.
Right.
But that's what's happening psychologically and chemically, physiologically in our body when this happens. Like, once you start to realize and start to think on these esoteric levels about what's going on, it changes the way that you think about what's happening here and what you're doing with these things.
Yeah.
Right? Because remember, we're at the end of the day, we're dealing with humans on the other side of the screen, right? That's what's going on here, and they're extremely skeptical until you persuade them not to be, right? And we persuade them by promising them that we're going to give them something that they really want, or take away something that they don't really want, right? And ideally, the faster that we can do that, the better, right? So that's ultimately, on a meta level, all we're doing with advertising and marketing and trying to sell our product immediately online. We're trying to take somebody from this place of, hey, I got a problem, or I need a solution, to, I can give it to you in this time frame with this thing at this price. Do you want it?
Yeah.
Those are the simple steps, right? Now, there's a lot more that can go into all of those things, obviously, right? But we have to think about it from the simple level first, right? And then when we understand that, we understand what's going through people's minds, then we can say the things that we need to say to them in the right order, right, at the right time.
Right.
And what we're doing is we're just guiding their thought sequences, right? And we're trying to make people feel comfortable with us. Hey, I can do business with you. Remember, right when we got on the call, I was looking at your page. I'm like, all right, I just want to see how this feels, right? That's a huge element, right? Like, if your page felt spammy, people would not buy from you. And that's why I said, dude, page is great. It feels very professional. Like, I don't think anybody would get here and think you were a scam company, right? That's actually a massive step in overcoming the skepticism right away.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Right. So, and the other thing that we're looking for is what to expect. You got a normal e-commerce store. It looks like any place else somebody would buy something from online, right? So I don't have any like red flags of like, oh, there's no way I'm giving this guy my credit card, right? Until I start seeing there's no reviews and it's thin on copy, like we already talked about.
Right. Okay.
Then I would get, me being experienced, I'd get here and be like, okay, this is a new company, there, bye.
Ah, right. Okay. Will that put you off straight away, the fact that it is a new company, because it has no
100%.
social proof, I guess, hasn't it? Yeah.
100%. Yeah. That just makes me instantly question, like, okay, well, where are these things coming from? Right. That's a big question on people who take supplements minds. Where are these ingredients produced? Is this in some kind of lab in China? Is it organic or not?
Yeah, it's a very good point. That I've definitely overlooked that for sure.
Yeah, that's a huge one. I created a product with a friend of mine that we made two different drinks out of mushrooms. We created the formulas with scientists, and then I
Right.
sold that company back in 2019. But I built the whole company, so I know a lot about marketing these things and the questions that people will ask, right? So
Yeah.
that's like like whenever we're dealing with things like this, these are health conscious people, and we're in a society where it's becoming ever more important to understand what you're putting in your body, and people really question that stuff with supplements in particular, right?
Right. Okay. Yeah. Right.
And so
Yeah.
your
So
stuff is My True Supplements, so I'm guessing there's something that must be like they're like everything's organic or something.
yeah, the route I was going down was evidence based. So using a lot of literature and stuff from Examine.com and cross referencing some of their findings and kind of really trying to separate ourselves from being sort of the stereotypical brands that don't really care about people's health really. I
Yeah,
wanted to
so
kind
like
of
all of this stuff, like this superfood paragraph here, like
yeah.
that should be, on the page, like describing what's in it. All this stuff right here, no fillers or
Yeah.
animal testing, no sugar added, low glycemic. It is GMO, so it's caffeine free. All that stuff should be on the page. Do you see these logos right here?
Yeah.
Those should all be like below the add to cart, along with like your guarantee if you've got a guarantee.
Right. Okay.
Okay, so you can
Right.
grab all those things from there. Here's some of the ingredients. Yeah, so here's an example, right? Like, let's just use the blackberry fruit,
Hmm.
right? Because like, I think there might be some new stuff about blackberries actually. Blackberry fruit, right? This is probably a really good example. This might be a good one. So you want to find the things that are like being promoted. Like if you see something that's really popular, right? Like if you see a whole bunch of articles are popping up about like, oh my God, this thing's got blackberry fruit. Blackberry fruit's the next craze, just like I said with
Yeah.
acai berry earlier, right? That's what you want to look for. And then if your product has that ingredient in it, then you want to make all your marketing around that, right? Like, hey, we got this strawberry superfruit with blackberry fruit superfood. It's kiwi strawberry superfood. It's got blackberry fruit in it. It's amazing for feeling great or whatever. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yeah. Yeah. That's a really good shout. That. Just make a
And
note of
then
this.
the other thing that you're going to want to be careful of too, now I just remembered this, is you're going to want to be careful of like the way that you're making your claims on the page if you're going to advertise in the US, especially because of FDA regulations. With my mushroom company, we actually hired an FDA attorney to review all of our copy and
Right.
tell us
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah. So the interesting thing that I learned from her, probably the biggest thing I learned from her, is that you can't make direct claims about things like there was one on the other one. It was inflammation in particular is the area where she was talking about. So you can't say helps reduce inflammation, right?
Yeah.
That actually would be by the FDA's standards, that's a term that could get your ass sued.
Really?
Yeah. Like if
Yeah.
somebody like came at you, they filed claims and stuff, they could get you for that, right?
Right.
So instead what you have to do is you have to say things like supports a healthy inflammation response. And that's like the key language. So when you're using these generalized things like anti-aging benefits, for example, right? Supports a healthy skin balance or something like that. I don't know the right way to do it. Or it supports a slow aging process, a healthy aging process.
Right. So the key word being there supports, but you're not making a direct claim. You kind of, as you say, circumnavigating, using certain nuances to say the same thing, but in a indirect way.
That is correct. Yep. And that's why I was saying there's a fine line in a lot of these things, and that fine line is actually seen by the FDA and regulatory bodies, but that's also seen by the algorithms, how I was talking about that a moment ago, right?
Yeah.
With just the way that you can phrase something, right? Because you can't say, do you have stress, right? But you could
Mhm.
say for those seeking stress relief.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Now, those two things do the same thing. They accomplish the same goal, which in copywriting, it's what Gary Halbert calls dog whistle copy, where we're just identifying the market right away. Who is it for in the first sentence? We just did one with a question where we're asking them if they have the problem. Then we did the other one in an indirect statement about who it was for.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's direct versus indirect, right?
Mhm.
So we always want it when we're talking about these kinds of things like health benefits, anything personally related like that, you want to use the indirect statements. That's the nuance. And the majority of supplement people don't get that. They don't understand that. And they just do the direct stuff because that's what they're taught.
Yeah.
And then they get banned. And then they're like, no, it's not fair. And they go cry in groups like
Yeah.
a bunch of little bitches. You know what I mean? So meanwhile, the players are over here just playing like it ain't no tomorrow. You know what I mean? So yeah, dude. Hopefully that is helpful. Is that?
Absolutely. Yeah. Really, really, really helpful. It's a big eye opener to what I'm seriously lacking on that site. So it's good steer in good direction with some very good key points on which I need to implement as soon as really. There was one quick question you said in terms of ads. You kind of gave me a rough estimate on what daily ad spend. What type of objective would you then run to call traffic on that?
Well,
I'd be better off looking in AOA for that.
So what you want to do is use the offer framework from the copy frameworks.
Okay.
Right. So you want to use the offer framework, right? And that's the direct copy, like I just kind of went over with you, right?
Yeah.
Where we're just talking about the offer and everything like that. You'll send the traffic straight to your product page after you get all those things updated, right? As much as you can.
Okay. Yeah.
And you're going to use the conversions objective, and you'll optimize for the purchase standard event. And you should have your pixel integrated with WooCommerce. I think WooCommerce automatically sets up the standard events for you if you just use their pixel integration tool, right?
Yeah.
And so it'll fire a purchase conversion event for you, right? So if you just optimize to the purchase standard event and use conversions as the objective and use that offer framework, and then for the creative, you would ideally just use an image of the product to start.
Okay.
Right. And then you just send the traffic straight to the product page, right? Because all we're trying to do, we're trying to eliminate any extra steps, right? We're just trying to see, get proof of concept on, does our idea for what we think is going to sell this product work to the people we're trying to sell it to or not? That's really the answer you're trying to get, okay? Now, this particular product is $60, right? So what I would be trying to achieve out of the gate, what I would be using as a guiding metric right away, is $60 CPA, meaning $60 to get somebody to buy my $60 product.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just break even to ad spend is kind of like the random thing that I'm going to be using as my guidepost out of the gate, because you don't have any data to go off of.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. So now what that means is you're going to want to let your ad run for 3 days before you do anything, because we're going to want to let it spend at least $60 to see if we can get a sale in $60. Okay. Now, hopefully what'll happen is we'll get a sale the first day or two, maybe a couple each day. We don't know. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes it doesn't. You never know. Okay. But what we're going to do is we're just going to sit on it for 3 days, and then you'll want to evaluate it at that point. You're just going to use the traffic light system inside AOA that I teach in how to convert and scale paid traffic today. Use the traffic light system to run your analysis, and then that tells you basically what to do from there. You know what I mean? If you have questions, pop them in the AOA group.
That's brilliant. That's really reassuring, because in the past I've heard that you want to be running hundreds of dollars a day and you need to be doing this and doing that.
You don't need to do that. You don't need to do that unless you're a big, huge company, right? This is where a lot of people lead a lot of people astray, right? I love what the old timers, they always have these great sayings, right? So one of them that I love is, what's good for the goose isn't necessarily good for the gander, right? And that is what I call a truism in life, right? Now, a lot of these guys, they want you to spend a lot of money, especially if they're getting paid off of you spending money, right? So you have to be careful about advice. Everybody's advice, even my own, is biased in some way, shape, or form, and is slanted in a way to try to get you to do something.
Yeah, right? Sure.
So we always got to understand that, right? So now what I also, in my experience, is you don't have to start big. I never started big. I start small with everything. Why would I start big? That's like starting money on fire. You don't need to do that. And here's the other thing a lot of people don't get about the algorithms that I do and why I do things differently, right? That's what you get in AOA. It's all different, right?
Yeah.
We do things differently here because that's what actually works, right? And how the algorithms work. So the algorithm, like even with Google, Google will tell you it takes 7 days for the thing to even just like kind of even know what the it's doing, right? So now with Google, like anytime I launch a campaign, I don't even look at it for 7 days.
Right. Okay.
No, I don't want to be doing that with hundreds or thousands of dollars a day. That's just
Yeah.
stupid,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's
Definitely.
just dumb, right? And all of the ad networks, they don't tell you to do that. Like when you go to start a campaign, what do they put in there for the default budget? $20 a day.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why I've always recommended to people those numbers because I'm literally using the defaults that Facebook and all the ad networks put in there. Because if they're putting it in there, by golly, they're telling you that's what you should do. Like,
Yeah.
and in some of these cases, those kinds of things are things that you do want to do that they tell you. Now, there are cases where you don't want to do what they tell you, and that's a whole nother story. That's all in the training. Actually, I go through that quite a bit in the boot camp about like don't pay attention to the warning messages and things like that.
Yeah. That's
Cool.
brilliant.
So what other questions? Yeah, any other questions?
No, you've really blown me away with all that really, really useful information there, and I really do appreciate your time in taking this call. I really do. It's definitely put me on the right path, and it's definitely given me some something to go at and get my teeth stuck into for sure. I'm excited about
Perfect.
it.
Awesome.
And
Well,
I can't
hey,
wait to update you on it either.
well, I was gonna ask you, could you do me a favor?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, would you
Anything,
mind
yeah.
just going in the group and posting about the call and the value that you got out of it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was thinking of doing that anyway, but yeah, absolutely. I'll do that for you. No problem
Great.
at all.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, because like, it's funny because I've had a few people tell me that they wouldn't even book one of these calls because they thought like they were gonna get on and get pitched something the whole time. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? So I just want people to know, like, all I'm doing is trying to help people. You know what I mean? Like, I'm
yeah.
trying to help my tribe. I want the people that are loyal to me and trust me with their hard-earned money. I want them to get success.
Mm,
And we're going in a time of where things are going to get probably kind of weird in the world. You know what I mean? So it's going to be
yeah, definitely.
real important to be diligent. So that's what I'm trying to help you with. Yeah.
That's very admirable of you as well.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. So I mean, dude, if you could just let people know, that'd be great. I'd be grateful for you. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'll get onto that straight away.
Perfect. All right, Stephen. Well, enjoy the rest of your day, man. And if there's anything else I can do, just pop into the group and let me know.
I will do. Thank you very much. You have a
All
great
right, take
day
care.
too.
You
You
do.
take care
Thank you.
too. Thank you.
All right, bye bye.
Goodbye.